Barataria-Terrebonne National Estuary Program, celebrating 25 years of protecting and preserving a Louisiana treasure.
The Barataria-Terrebonne National Estuary Program and its people are uniquely underrepresented. Most of the communities are rural. We're bayou people, drawing our emotions, who we are, what we think, from the ecosystem, the marshes, the swamps. This is kind of who we are and what we do. And so that's kind of the crux of making us different and important and trying to get people to understand who we are and where we're going.
And it was concern over where the estuary was headed that prompted the formation of the Barataria-Terrebonne National Estuary Program under the auspices of the Environmental Protection Agency with state support.
The Barataria-Terrebonne National Estuary is actually two basins, two entire watershed basins. The Barataria Basin is between the Mississippi River and the Bayou Lafourche, and from Bayou Lafourche over all the way to the Atchafalaya River, which is the Terrebonne Basin. So the marshes in this national estuary provide a lot of habitat for all the very small fishes and crabs and larval stages. These places are not only productive from a fishery standpoint, but they're very productive as far as bird life. This national estuary serves as a stopping off point for all the birds flying across the Gulf of Mexico from South America.
The estuary also plays an important role in the navigation, oil and gas, and agriculture industries.
BTNEP was established because this area was suffering tragic environmental consequences. The most important of those and most prevalent was the land loss issue.
When you look at other estuaries around the country, the primary problem is a water quality issue. We're different. Ours was driven by the land loss in this geographic area. So that's why this area was chosen, was because of that land loss issue. The way BTNEP started was, EPA came up and you had to nominate an estuary to be included in the program. That we were actually accepted in the second round of estuary programs. There are a total of 28 estuary programs now. EPA talked about consensus-based decision making. We were really fortunate in that the people that were chosen to represent all of the various stakeholder groups were people that were really, really willing to work with other people. There were about 250 people that signed the master plan, and we had 4 standing committees. Each committee met one day a month for 5 years. So we had a local governments committee, we had an industry committee, we had an environmental or science and technology committee. And I'll just jump forward. 5 years later, after you have this team of people and you meet one day a month for 5 years and you develop the plan, and I will proudly say today that of the 28 estuary programs, we were the only one that developed our plan within the original budget and within the original time frame. Back then we had a budget of about $3 million a year. We did a lot of gathering of research, information. We had a lot of projects. One had to do with updating the soil map for Terrebonne Parish. And the original soil map was one of the first ones done for Louisiana. And across Terrebonne Marsh, it was scrolled on the map, wasteland. We work with NRCS to update that map, so if you look at the soil map today, it doesn't have wasteland, but that does reflect how people viewed that landscape in the past. We love this area. We realized that it was going away. Once the land goes away, it's gone. It's all open water. And there will come a point that it will impact our fisheries, it'll impact everything that we are in coastal Louisiana. We viewed it as a crisis, but it was a real personal thing for everyone that was on the management conference because we all live here and this is part of all of our heritage.
I first became involved with the program in 1990. I was selected to be on the Scientific Technical Committee, and at our first meeting I was, I guess, elected, more like railroaded into being chairman. From my committee standpoint, the Scientific Technical Committee, we knew a lot about these basins, and we needed to find out to get a better handle over what we didn't know. So our first focus was to have a symposium or a conference, and to have presentations from different scientists over what we need to know about this program to develop our plan. There were 7 priority problems identified. These involved water quality issues, land loss issues, habitat loss, and fish and wildlife issues. We had to develop a series of action plans to address all of these priority issues. So that is our Comprehensive Conservation and Management Plan, the CCMP. That's what we developed over the first 5 years. So it was a planning effort over the first 5 years, and now it's an implementation phase. We have a management conference, and there are people and representatives of all different federal, state, local groups, environmental groups, scientists on that management conference. And we form strong partnerships with those people as well as other people. And that's how we get the funding that we need to do a lot of the work. There's hundreds and hundreds of projects that we did.
Those projects range from wetland and urban plantings to litter removal to ridge restoration.
We decided to move the program into on-the-ground restoration. We felt like we needed to do, some meaningful restoration of wetlands out of open water. There was a project we focused on at Fouchon, the Ridge Project we call it, where the port was dredging. They were expanding the port. We became involved and guided them into using this dredge material to rebuild wetlands and rebuild a ridge that was there in 1955 but had disappeared. We advocate using sediments dredged and harvested by dredges from the Mississippi River, from the Atchafalaya River, from offshore sources to rebuild wetlands. We feel like we need to rebuild wetlands in a timely manner, quickly, because that's what people are worried about nowadays. They worry about being flooded. And it's these habitats that protect those communities, because we build all our communities on ridges. That's something very unique about this national estuary. Out of all of the 28, we go to the river to build our communities, because that's where the high land is. A lot of education projects. We very bought into the idea that we need to educate people as to why this place is important, as to why it needs saving. We do a lot of water quality projects. Louisiana has a litter problem, so we want to do something about that. We decided to do a Bayou Lafourche cleanup. The bird projects that we do, multitudes of bird projects, bird surveys, those are all on the ground.
I've been involved in implementing the Migratory Bird Action Plan since essentially about 1998. That plan by itself has a number of different components. It has educational components, has research and monitoring components, it has habitat restoration components, working with private landowners to do things for birds. We've developed numerous educational products through time over that last 20-25 year history. We've developed calendars that we send out to birders across the nation promoting awareness of our issues here in terms of wetland loss, and also to sort of encourage folks to come here to bird. So we're encouraging ecotourism at the same time. Barataria terrebonne estuary is comprised of many different natural habitats here. There are many different species of birds that utilize these different unique habitats. The idea is to educate people about the connection of birds to the habitats here in Louisiana and some of those unique relationships that we have here between birds and habitats. We've done a lot of monitoring. We've done and some research since about 2005. In 2005, we began with a rather large project which was designed to look at nesting least terns, Wilson plover, snowy plover, and American oystercatcher. And we walked all the beaches and headlands in the state from Mississippi all the way to Texas. And when the oil spill happened, our efforts became that much more important. The idea is to gather enough information about these birds in terms of where they're located, in terms of distribution and abundance, and looking at those changes in population through time, and then try to determine what might drive those changes through time. There's some 400 plus species of birds that are found here in southeast Louisiana. During migration in the fall and spring, there are a lot of birds that are coming through. So a healthy environment is very important for a lot of these birds that are moving through. If we understand the specifics of what it is that these birds require, then we can impose management actions on the landscape itself that might benefit these birds. And without that knowledge, we can't manage that resource and protect that resource.
The estuary program has been a place where people can reach consensus and decide what to do to protect and save this very unique ecosystem. So what stands before us now is to continue welcoming people to join us in our efforts, and I think to grow out to the rest of the nation so they can see how valuable Louisiana's wetlands are. So it's not just state, it's not just local, but it's going out to the rest of the nation so that they can figure out who we are and why we're so wonderful. The future of our coast is completely tied to what's happening in our estuaries. The Barataria terrebonne has been nationally recognized. It's, in my opinion, sort of the heart of our coast. So taking care of the animals and the plants and the people that live there are something that the decision makers need to look carefully at. We need to do things for the people who live here and work here and make this their home. Trying to get national decision makers understand what our needs are is very important. I think we have the best national estuary program. We are very different because we drain 31 states. We have 16 parishes in the National Estuary Program, and each one of them has a voice and a seat at our management conference. Everything that we are trying to do is for the next generation, and we have to keep that in mind, that when we protect and preserve this wetland, this ecosystem, we're not doing it just for ourselves. We're doing it for the future generations. This ecosystem is on loan to us, and we have to remember that. We don't own it. It doesn't belong to us. We have to take care of it so that it will be there for the next group.